Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Jonna.
And I'm Jyotsna Kumar. And on the show today, a CBS report says that U.S. President Donald Trump privately told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel that he would back Israeli strikes on Iran's ballistic missile program if nuclear talks with Iran collapse. The report came as Iran's foreign minister has departed for the second round of talks with the United States over Tehran's nuclear program. We'll get to all the details on that on the show.
While we track all those developments coming in from Geneva, India defeat Pakistan during their group stage match at the Cricket T20 World Cup. This was a match highly anticipated and not short of drama. India won by 61 runs, powered by Ishan Kishan's stellar knock of 77 runs in 40 balls. We'll get you all the updates. This and a lot more lined up for you. Let's start with the headlines first.
Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi heads to Switzerland for the second round of renewed talks with the United States. The American side will be represented by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says any deal between the US and Iran must involve the removal of all enriched uranium from Iran, as well as Tehran's ability to enrich more uranium.
Riots break out in Israeli city of Bnei Brak. At least 22 people arrested as protesters attacked police officers and set fire to police motorcycles. 2 female Israeli soldiers also had to be rescued from a mob of ultra-Orthodox men.
Massive protest in New York's Times Square for the release of Imran Khan. The former Pakistan Prime Minister is yet to be shifted to a hospital despite growing concerns over his health.
UK government announces sweeping crackdown on tech firms to protect children from illegal content. It will include measures to eliminate vile illegal content created by AI.
Japan's economy grew just 0.1% in the December quarter, missing bets for 0.4% expansion. Annual growth reached 1.1% after 2024's contraction as private consumption and investment helped offset the September quarter's 0.7% decline.
India defeat Pakistan during their group stage match at the Cricket T20 World Cup. India win by 61 runs, powered by Ishan Kishan's stellar knock-off, 77 runs and 40 balls. Now, Iran and the U.S. are heading to Switzerland for the second round of renewed talks.
Well, the talks scheduled for later this week, they come as reports emerge that the U.S. is ready to back Israeli strikes on Iran's ballistic missile program if these negotiations fail.
Now, these indirect talks in Geneva will be mediated by Oman, which had hosted the first round in Muscat. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi has already left for Geneva.
The US side will be represented by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Ahead of the talks, Iran has signaled flexibility on its nuclear program. Its deputy Iranian foreign minister indicated that Iran was ready to compromise in return for sanctions relief, telling the BBC that the ball was now in America's court to prove that they want to do a deal.
However, he reiterated that Iran would not accept zero uranium enrichment, a key sticking point in past negotiations.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has also acknowledged that the talks could fail, but emphasized that Trump remains committed to seeing them through.
I'm not going to talk about attacks on Iran or anything of that nature because the president's made clear he prefers diplomacy and an outcome of negotiated settlement. Now, we're dealing with radical Shia clerics. Okay, we're dealing with people who make geopolitical decisions on the basis of pure theology, and it's a complicated thing. I mean, no one's ever been able to do a successful deal with Iran, but we're going to try.
Now, a report citing U.S. officials say that the U.S. military is preparing for the possibility of sustained weeks-long operations against Iran. U.S. has already amassed military forces in the region with an additional aircraft carrier on the way.
According to CBS News, U.S. President Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in December that he would support the strikes if the US and Iran could not reach a deal. Netanyahu also voiced skepticism that he was skeptical that the negotiations would succeed.
He also laid out 4 Israeli demands regarding any deal with Iran, including the removal of the country's entire stock of enriched uranium and the dismantling of its nuclear facilities. Netanyahu also reiterated that any deal must address Iran's ballistic missiles and dismantle its support for armed groups in the region.
Quoting late US President Ronald Reagan, Netanyahu defended a similar approach to Iran's nuclear program. Listen to this.
And the last thing is, remember Ronald Reagan's dictum vis-a-vis the Soviet Union? Trust but verify, distrust, and always verify. So there has to be real inspections, substantive inspections, no lead time inspections, but effective inspections for all of the above.
Well, Israel is planning to restart a contentious land regulation process in the occupied West Bank.
Now, this would allow Israel to gain control over large areas for future development. Once Israel resumes the land registration process for a certain area, anyone claiming a piece of land must prove their ownership by submitting documents. The Israeli government's decision, approved in a cabinet meeting earlier this week, has paved the way for a resumption of settlement of land titles processes, which had been frozen since the Arab-Israeli War in 1967.
The government decided today to open a land registry in the West Bank. They allocated 240 million shekels to the registration of large amount of lands in Area C in a process that will end up by total control of the Israeli government over the land, while Palestinians will be sent to prove ownership in a way that they will never be able to do. And this way Israel might take over 83% of the Area C, which is about half of the West Bank.
Now, one particular portion in the occupied West Bank region that has been a point of contention is Area C. According to agreements signed between Israel and Palestinians over 3 decades ago, this area, Area C, refers to 60% of the occupied West Bank region that is under full Israeli military control. It is estimated that around 300,000 Palestinians live in Area C of the occupied West Bank region. Further, many living in the surrounding communities depend on its agricultural lands, including plots for which families retain land deeds and tax records dating back decades.
Well, in recent months, Israel has expanded construction in Jewish settlements, legalized outposts, and made significant bureaucratic changes to its policies in the territory to strengthen its hold and weaken the Palestinian Authority.
Advocacy groups argued that the process of proving ownership can be draconian and is rarely transparent. They also added that the land undergoing registration process in areas owned by the Palestinians would likely revert to Israeli state control.
Now, following this, Palestinian Deputy Minister for Political Affairs, Omar Awadallah, has slammed Israel, saying that the decision contradicts U.S. President Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan. He also added that the move contradicts ongoing efforts for peace and stability in the region.
Adding to this, they are contradicting with the ongoing efforts for peace, stability, and any kind of security in the region, especially what the American administration are trying to do in the region. And this is contradict the 20 points plan of Mr. Trump when he was clear about no annexation, no settlements, and no occupation and continuation of the occupation in the Palestinian territory. So we're seeing this as an attempt to destroy and to destruct any positive effort toward stability, peace, and security in the region.
Furthermore, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas stated that the decision is a flagrant violation of international law and a grave escalation. Meanwhile, in Gaza, US President Trump has urged Hamas to move forward with the disarmament under his plan for a post-war Gaza.
In a post on Truth Social, Trump added that members of his Gaza Board of Peace have pledged $5 billion to the Palestinian territory's reconstruction. And security guarantees are a pressing concern for Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky is seeking guarantees for 20 years or longer from the U.S. before signing any peace deal with Russia.
Well, the U.S. has proposed a 15-year arrangement, but Ukraine wants a longer one and a longer binding framework. All of this as the 4-year-long war nears no end. More in this next report. Take a look.
The clock is ticking, but strikes continue from both sides of the border as the war between Russia and Ukraine drags on. Zelensky wants strong security guarantees against Russia and Russian President Vladimir Putin. He has even called Putin a slave of war. Strikes continue to pound Ukraine. Odessa faces Russia's wrath as overnight drone strikes turn residential buildings to ash heaps. Kyiv and its Western allies have repeatedly accused Moscow of deliberately freezing Ukraine's population with its attacks on the country's energy infrastructure. And in Russia's Krasnodar region, authorities claim that Ukrainian drones damaged an oil depot and caused several fires. Moscow's defense ministry says it has downed 88 Ukrainian drones over Russia's southern and border regions. As the two warring nations refuse to back down, Zelensky has delivered another plea. He has asked for security guarantees for a minimum of 20 years from the U.S., which he says will allow him to sign a peace deal with dignity.
We just had a meeting with investors and business leaders, and they require guarantees that extend beyond 5 to 10 years. Currently, we have a proposal from the American side for 15 years, but we are pushing for 20 years plus, 30 or even 50 years. We will see what the administration and Congress are willing to accept.
Ukrainian, Russian, and American delegations are due to meet in Geneva in next week. The U.S.-brokered peace talks will decide the fate of the 4-year-long war. The Ukrainian president is optimistic, saying that he thinks the Geneva trilateral talks will be substantive. But he also says that U.S. pressure to make concessions is mostly aimed at Ukraine, and Russia has shown few signs that it is ready for compromise. Zelensky has also accused Moscow of seeking to delay decisions on a final peace deal by changing its lead negotiator.
The Americans often return to the topic of concessions, and too often those concessions are discussed in the context only of Ukraine, not Russia. Europe is practically not present at the table. It's a big mistake to my mind.
With U.S. President Donald Trump seeking to push through a deal to end the war, the American representative to NATO has something different to say. Matthew Whitaker says that Russia may never be ready to make a deal. It's a statement in direct opposition to what Trump has said. Moscow has stuck to its demands for sweeping territorial and political concessions from Kyiv. Russia is also demanding that Ukrainian forces pull out of the country's eastern Donetsk region. Ukraine has rejected a unilateral pullback and wants to secure robust Western security guarantees to deter Russia from relaunching its offensive following any ceasefire.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is seeking to steady strained ties with Europe while firmly restating Washington's own priorities.
And this as he moves from Munich into a high-profile tour of Central Europe. Rubio, who is on his two-day visit to Slovakia and Hungary, outlined U.S.'s expectations from Europe.
We don't want Europe to be dependent. Now, we're not asking Europe to be a vassal of the United States. We want to be your partner. We want to work with Europe. We want to work with our allies. We want to work in cooperation with you. And our point has been and continues to be, the stronger you are, both on an individual basis in terms of countries and collectively as an alliance, the stronger the members of NATO are, the stronger NATO is.
Rubio did not speak of Trump's remarks to annex Greenland in Munich. Rather, his tone was conciliatory, stressing that Europe and US belong together and that Washington expects Europe to be strong.
And this while he offered few specifics, no direct reference to Russia, NATO or the war in Ukraine, despite his meet and greet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky took place.
Rubio further argued that the post-Cold War global order had reached its limits. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz seemed to welcome the thought while urging Europe to strengthen its defenses and repair trust with Washington. He also cautioned that even the United States cannot lead alone in a fractured world.
A gap, a deep divide has opened up between Europe and the United States of America. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said this here in Munich a year ago. He was right in his description. The culture war of the MAGA movement in the United States, is not ours.
Rubio's speech garnered reactions from America's home delegation as well. California Governor Gavin Newsom said Trump's attack is uniting Europe.
The United States of America will once again take on the task of renewal.
And moving on, the U.S. has seized another oil tanker suspected of helping Venezuela avoid sanctions.
U.S. forces chased down and boarded this tanker in a pursuit that stretched from the Caribbean to the Indian Ocean. In a video released by the U.S. Department of War, troops can be seen approaching the massive crude oil carrier from helicopters and boarding it without any fight breaking out.
Now, the captured vessel is Panamanian-flagged sanctioned oil tanker Veronica 3. The Pentagon said the tanker tried to defy President Trump's oil quarantine. Veronica 3 is linked to Iranian and Venezuelan oil deals. It is believed to have been carrying nearly 2 million barrels of crude when it departed Venezuela earlier this month.
This interception follows a similar boarding last week when U.S. forces seized the tanker Aquila 2 in the same part of the ocean. Venezuela and Cuba are the two Caribbean countries facing the brunt of U.S. oil blockades. Oil reserves are drying up in Cuba, while Venezuela is in talks with the U.S. to figure out the framework on how to end months-long oil blockades and sell Venezuelan oil in the international market again. Former US President Barack Obama has finally broken his silence on a racist social media post that was put up on Donald Trump's account.
Obama has responded to the video that depicted him and former First Lady Michelle Obama as monkeys. During an interview with political podcaster Brian Tyler Cohen, Obama criticized what he called a growing lack of shame and decorum in American political discourse. He said that today's political climate has become a clown show and added that such messaging can hurt Republican candidates aligned with Trump in the upcoming U.S. midterm elections.
The controversial video was posted on Trump's Truth Social platform on the 5th of February. 1 minute clip, that's how long it is. It promoted conspiracy theories about Trump's 2020 election loss to Joe Biden. Near the end of this clip, the faces of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama briefly appear, superimposed on the bodies of monkeys.
The White House initially dismissed criticism of the clip as fake outrage, but later the White House said that the clip was shared mistakenly by a staff member before it was taken down.
Now, speaking to reporters, Trump said he stands by the broader claims in the video regarding election fraud, but maintained that he has not seen the offensive segment at the end.
The post has drawn condemnation from across the political spectrum. Former Vice President Kamala Harris slammed what she called a cover-up at the White House.
Tim Scott, the only black senator in the U.S. Republican Party, called the video the most racist thing he had seen from the White House. Meanwhile, Democratic Party leader Hakeem Jeffries called Donald Trump vile, unhinged and malignant. He also urged Republicans to denounce Trump's bigotry.
Serbia is in the grip of protests. Once again, thousands of anti-government demonstrators have gathered in the Serbian city of Kragujevac.
Now, they are vowing to continue the protests that began after last year's deadly railway station canopy collapse.
Now, the rally was held on Serbia's Statehood Day, and it witnessed participation from university students and local residents. The demonstrators carried banners and national flags in the city center.
Many thronged the streets with Serbia's flag draped over their shoulders. The gathering in the region is the latest in a series of student-led protests across Serbia. They reflect continuing political tensions ahead of potential elections later this year.
The protesters argue that political structures built over many years cannot be dismantled overnight. They have pledged to maintain pressure through discontinued demonstrations and civic action.
We have to find a way to reach them, to get close enough to them so they understand that there is a problem. Either they are not aware of it or they are choosing to ignore it. I don't see any other solution than elections. Whether it happens sooner or later, we'll see. What matters is that we persevere. We will stand by these children for as long as it takes.
I don't know what else to do, but I cannot align myself with this. I can't. With this arrogance, this ignorance, this dissatisfaction, with everything that's happening in this country. I cannot stand with it. I have to stand against it.
The demonstrations emerged following the collapse of a concrete canopy at the main railway station in the city of Novi Sad in 2024. The tragic incident killed 16 people and seriously injured another. The tragedy triggered widespread public anger, with demonstrators blaming it on systemic corruption, poor oversight, and a lack of accountability in public infrastructure projects.
Serbia's president, Aleksandar Vučić, who has served in the role since 2017, is completing his second and last five-year term. It is set to expire in 2027.
Na sva 4 zahteva odgovorili smo sa punom I iskrenom pažnjom. Svi oni će da vam govore.
Well, it's now time for a very short break on World Day. Don't go anywhere. Lost signed up on the other side. Coming up, UK and Canadian nationals will be able to travel to mainland China for up to 30 days without a visa from 17th of February. A move that follows UK and Canadian Prime Minister's official visit to China.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders, psychopaths who defy explanation, international war crimes, and millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
And welcome to a brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts, and the culture developments as well. From the 7 days.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION. World is one.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is one.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with Jyotsna. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Iran signals it is ready to consider compromises to reach a nuclear deal with the U.S. if the Americans are willing to discuss lifting sanctions, but rules out accepting zero uranium enrichment.
Imran Khan's sister accuses the government of Pakistan of ignoring families' demands on medical examination of the former Prime Minister. This as a team of doctors examined Imran Khan at Adyala jail.
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi heads to Switzerland for the second round of renewed talks with the United States. The American side will be represented by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says any deal between the US and Iran must involve the removal of all enriched uranium from Iran, as well as Tehran's ability to enrich more.
Riots break out in the Israeli city of Bnei Brak. At least 22 people arrested as protesters attacked police officers and set fire to police motorcycles. 2 female Israeli soldiers also had to be rescued from a mob of ultra-Orthodox men.
Massive protest in New York's Times Square for the release of Imran Khan. The former Pakistan Prime Minister is yet to be shifted to a hospital despite growing concerns over his health.
UK government announced a sweeping crackdown on tech firms to protect children from illegal content. It will include measures to eliminate vile illegal content created by AI.
After a brutal sell-off, Asian stocks started on Monday. On a positive note, a benign US inflation reading brought back bets for Federal Reserve rate cuts and changed investors' mood away from a sell-off.
India defeat Pakistan during their group stage match at the Cricket T20 World Cup. India win by 61 runs, powered by Ishan Kishan's stellar knockoff, 77 runs in 40 balls. Now, citizens from Canada and Britain will be able to visit China visa-free.
The new policy takes effect on Tuesday and will remain in place until the end of the year. The new visa rules come close on the heels of visits to China by the Canadian and British Prime Ministers.
And China's foreign ministry said passport holders from Canada and Britain may stay in China for up to 30 days without a visa for business trips, sightseeing, visiting friends and family, or exchange purposes. Tuesday marks the start of the Lunar New Year or Spring Festival, China's biggest annual celebration.
Notably, the new measures leave US citizens as the only ones from the Five Eyes alliance who still cannot enter China without a visa. China granted visa-free access to New Zealand and Australia, the other 2 members of the alliance, in July 2024.
Now, the new policy for Canada and Britain means the citizens of 79 countries can now enter China without a visa. And of these, 50 benefit from unilateral visa-free access granted by China, while the rest enjoy reciprocal arrangements. China began expanding its visa-free policy in November 2023 to bring back foreign tourists and business travelers after nearly 3 years of strict COVID-19 controls.
this is his son. 这康佐尔这个词是什么意思呢？
The BNP leader and Prime Minister in waiting, Tariq Rahman, met with opposition figure Shafiqur Rahman in Dhaka.
And Rahman is the leader of Shafiqur Rahman, of course, is the leader of Jamaat-e-Islami, which garnered 77 seats during the parliamentary polls held last Thursday. Rahman has promised to play the role of a vigilant, principled and peaceful opposition.
However, his party is challenging the results in at least 32 constituencies. According to Bangladesh's Election Commission, the Jamaat by itself secured 31% of the total vote share, but it is far behind in seats compared to the BNP's tally of 212. The BNP received almost 50% of the votes in Thursday's election. The Jamaat has formally conceded defeat in the polls, even though it is still challenging the results of 32 seats.
Before taking oath, Tariq Rahman is visiting opposition leaders. After meeting Shafiqur Rahman, he later visited Nahid Islam, the leader of the student-led National Citizen Party. Rahman has called his visits the beginning of positive politics in Bangladesh.
Rahman's oath-taking will mark a new era in the country's politics. It will end 3.5 decades of political dominance by the duo of Sheikh Hasina and Khalida Zia. Last December, Rahman returned to Bangladesh after 17 years in exile. This is Tariq Rahman we're speaking of now. He is now set to take the role of the country's Prime Minister.
After months of political uncertainty and violence following Sheikh Hasina's ouster, Rahman's biggest challenge will be to stabilize Bangladesh internally. He will also have to look at the country's ties with India.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was one of the first world leaders to congratulate Tariq Rahman on his victory. The BNP chairman then invited PM Modi for his oath-taking ceremony, but the Indian Prime Minister will not be able to make the trip due to prior commitments and the upcoming visit of the French president. So New Delhi will now send Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla in PM Modi's stead.
And apart from PM Modi, the leaders of other countries have also received invitations to attend Rahman's oath-taking ceremony, and they include leaders of China, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Turkey, UAE, Qatar, Malaysia, Brunei, Sri Lanka, Nepal, the Maldives and Bhutan.
Tariq Rahman's oath-taking will take place at the South Plaza of Bangladesh's Parliament House, and this is a shift from tradition. Bangladesh's prime ministers have usually taken oath at the President's Palace.
Now, Imran Khan's party has claimed that the government is ignoring his family's pleas over his treatment, calling it malicious.
Now, this as a 5-member team of doctors conducted a medical examination at Adiala jail. According to reports in the local media, doctors found marked improvement in the eye condition of Imran Khan. The government had earlier said that it is setting up a medical board to examine Imran Khan.
However, Imran Khan's party and his family have rejected the inspection conducted without the presence of Khan's personal physicians. His sister, Alima, claimed that the government rejected the specialist recommended by the family.
Now, the government has said that it is planning to shift Imran Khan to a hospital. The PTI is warning against shifting Khan to the hospital, saying that transferring Khan to any location without informing his family and his physicians is a violation of the constitution and jail rules. Myanmar's junta has expelled East Timor's top representative in the country.
And this comes after Didi opened a legal case against the military for war crimes. The development has made East Timor the first ASEAN country to take action against another member.
In a statement, Myanmar's military junta announced that it summoned the East Timor's top representative on Friday and had given him a week to leave the country. The statement further read that East Timor's reported appointment of a prosecutor to probe the case was a great disappointment.
Myanmar is currently defending itself from prosecution at the International Court of Justice over allegations of genocide against the Rohingya minority. However, earlier this month, the Chin Human Rights Organization, or CHRO, said that East Timor's had opened its own case against the junta for both war crimes and crimes against humanity.
The CHRO, which represents Myanmar's Chin ethnic minority stated that a senior Timorese prosecutor has been appointed to look into the criminal file presented by the organization. According to the CHRO, its case against the junta includes irrefutable evidence of gang rape, massacre of 10 people, slaughter of religious officials and a hospital airstrike. The organization entered the complaint under the principle of universal jurisdiction, which allows domestic courts to try international offences.
The junta had last expelled East Timor's top diplomat in August 2023 over a meeting with the banned shadow administration founded in the aftermath of the coup. Myanmar's military, which snatched power in a 2021 coup, has for decades been accused of rights abuses, mostly targeting the nation's ethnic minorities. A massive sinkhole in Indonesia's province is swallowing farmland.
Now, spanning nearly 3 hectares, the crater continues to widen. It is threatening crops, homes and farmers' livelihoods. More in this next report. Take a look.
We really hope that the government will provide us with compensation for our losses or find us more land, because all of ours has been destroyed and we can no longer plant anything.
For coffee, chili peppers, and several other commodities, we have collected all the data and submitted it to the central government. Hopefully, technical guidelines for handling the affected communities will arrive soon.
Green shoots are once again poking through in the global economy.
But which ones will flourish and which will turn to weeds? We decode that and more in our next report. Take a look.
The absolute classic of the genre, green shoots metaphor sprang up in US commentary again last week. But the real question is, if the strong economy narrative is finally spilling into the long-embattled jobs market. The short answer is no, not yet. Nearly all the jobs in 2025 were created by private healthcare. Virtually all other sectors shed workers. That has only become more extreme after the latest revisions. Job openings are falling, layoff announcements are trending up, and consumers are still downbeat about their job prospects. Still, none of that means the US can't continue growing above trend for now, dominated by AI investment and wealth effects. But analysts are sticking to their call for 2 Fed cuts this year in June and September. Trade balance is scheduled for release this week. Trade data will see more elevated deficits as the pre-tariff inventory build is exhausted. The key data point will likely be the Fed's favored measure of inflation, the core PCE deflator. Analysts expect a 0.3% increase, limiting any further near-term momentum behind the Fed being more aggressive on policy easing. In Europe, there appears to be genuine signs of improvement. Germany's fiscal story has been a roller coaster. Optimism 12 months ago quickly gave way to pessimism, as it became clear that infrastructure doesn't get built overnight. And in a hint of creative accounting to the budget, and it looks like more brown leaves than green shoots. But private business surveys on purchasing managers in the coming weeks should give us a better steer. Britain showed flickers of optimism, not on growth, which rounded out 2025 weaker than expected, nor politics, which is a major banana skin for markets, but on inflation. There's a growing sense that the Bank of England could go further with its cutting cycle than previously thought. Inflation is set to drop dramatically over the next few months, even if the January data is unlikely to drastically change in the coming week. The jobs market has cooled and hiring surveys are still getting worse. Private sector wage growth is falling like a stone, but the bank itself is cautious, albeit divided. So overall, the global economy may be humming along at a decent clip, but the risks remain at play. Business Bureau, WION World is One.
And India continued their dominance against Pakistan at the men's T20 World Cup.
Well, the men in blue won by 61 runs at the R. Premadasa Stadium, making it 8-1 in their head-to-head record in the tournament.
Pakistan won the toss and opted to field first. India maintained their no-handshake stance as Suryakumar Yadav avoided greeting Pakistan captain Salman Ali Agha after the toss. India made two changes to their playing 11, with Abhishek Sharma and Kuldeep Yadav replacing Sanju Samson and Arshdeep Singh.
Salman Ali Agha gave Pakistan the perfect start. He dismissed Abhishek Sharma for a golden duck, and this is the second consecutive time that Sharma has been out for a duck. And then Ishan Kishan unleashed his power hitting. He quickly raced to a blistering 50 off just 27 balls, shifting the momentum back in India's favour in no time. But Pakistan responded in the 9th over as Sayyam Ayub struck with the ball, dismissing Ishan Kishan for a well-made 77 off 40 balls. India's innings slowed a bit after Ayub struck again in the 15th over to take wickets and reduced the world champions to 126 for 4 in 14.3 overs. Suryakumar Yadav and Shivam Dube chipped in with 32 and 27 respectively as India posted 175 for 7 at the end of their 20 overs. Now, this was India's highest total against Pakistan in T20 World Cup history.
Pakistan got their chase off to a disaster start as Hardik Pandya struck in the first over. Jasprit Bumrah then picked up 2 wickets in the next over, reducing Pakistan to 13 for 3. Akshar Patel struck next, leaving Pakistan reeling at 38 for 4 in the power play. Shadab Khan and Usman Khan then steadied their innings. They stitched 39-run stand for 5th wicket. Akshar broke the partnership after sending Usman back to the pavilion. India's bowlers continue to strike at regular intervals, with Varun Chakravarti striking twice in the 16th over. Pakistan were eventually bundled out, 114 runs in 18 overs.
Celebrations erupted across India following the team's T20 World Cup victory over Pakistan. Fireworks lit up the skies, drumbeats echoed through the streets, and massive gatherings formed as fans poured out nationwide to celebrate.
And fans were also seen waving Indian flags and celebrating with cricketers' posters after the dominant win.
A Munich startup has completed the first public flight of a heavy lift electric aircraft.
Designed for emergency and rescue operations, from patient transport and firefighting to military logistics and supply missions to remote locations. The aim is to put electric aviation to work where reliability and response time matters the most. Now here's a report. Take a look.
A Munich startup has completed the first public demonstration flight of one of Europe's largest electric vertical takeoff aircraft. The 2.7-ton eVTOL prototype, called Romeo, flew at the Erding military airfield near Munich. It has been designed for heavy lift and emergency operations, including patient transport. Romeo has a 16-meter wingspan and is roughly the size of a helicopter.
We are actually planning 2 product lines. First, we will be introducing an unmanned version of our aircraft in the coming months, but we also want to certify a manned version by 2031 in the long term.
At a time when many electric aviation startups are chasing mass-market air taxis, ERC System is targeting what it calls critical missions, such as operations for governments and emergency services, including patient transfers between hospitals, firefighting, military logistics, and cargo flights to remote and island locations. Air rescue operators say electric aircraft could be cheaper to operate than conventional helicopters because of simpler drive systems, while remaining significantly faster than road ambulances.
Our vision is that we will eventually be able to fly all the missions that need to be flown, meaning the critical missions.
To overcome the constraint of battery range, ERC System is planning a hybrid version of the aircraft. Electric motors would continue to power both the vertical lift and forward flight propellers, while a conventional combustion engine on board would recharge the batteries in the air. This would extend Romeo's range to around 800 kilometers. For ERC System, the goal is clear: to put electric flight to work where every minute matters.
The popular animation studio Pixar is bringing its stories off the big screen and into real life with the launch of the Mundo Pixar experience.
Well, the immersive exhibition has opened at Wembley Park in London from the 13th of February, inviting visitors to step inside the worlds of some of Pixar's most loved films. Ranging from colorful adventures to heartwarming classics, the experience makes fans feel like they are part of the story. Pixar's director for franchise says storytelling remains at the heart of everything they do, and this is simply a new way to keep those stories alive beyond the movies.
You know, I think this sort of runs alongside our broader plans. Pixar, our primary goal is to tell great stories. Now, at our studio, we're making films, but this is part of telling a great story. And we realize that our films live on every day for people. They're watching them on Disney+, they're wearing the clothes. If you're a Toy Story fan, that goes on for you every day. And so you don't have to wait for the next film to come out to enjoy it.
The exhibition features 14 multi-sensory themed rooms, each inspired by a different Pixar film. Visitors can float into the world of Up, walk through the factory floor of Monsters, Inc., or shrink down into the playful universe of Toy Story. Ward says when Pixar first began, the focus was only on making films, but over time, the studio started thinking about how those stories continued to live with the audiences long after the credits roll.
So Mundo Pixar is an immersive experience with 14 rooms. Every room is themed after a Pixar film. When you're in that room, you're completely immersed in that film completely. So we have not only sights and sounds, but there's also smells in some rooms. And really this dedication to making you feel like you're part of the movie when you're there.
The London edition follows successful runs across South America and Europe. This version also features a brand new room created exclusively for the British capital. The Mundo Pixar experience will remain open in London until June 28th, giving fans a chance to quite literally walk into the magic.
All right, with that, we call a wrap to World Day for today. We leave you with some climate stories making headlines across the world. Thanks for staying tuned. You're watching Beyond World is One.